Welcome back to Breakthrough and Rise with me, Dr. Patricia Murugami. Many of you have been giving me great feedback on the last couple of videos, and you specifically asked for me to focus on relationships. And you know, when you think about breakthrough, we have 4 L's: life, love, leadership, and legacy. So I'm going to be focusing on love. Cut. So I'm going to be focusing on love, and not necessarily romantic love, but the relationships that impact on our heart. And the first one, the first F, is family. Family. Whether it's a family of origin, the family you've created, I have found and noticed over the last 2 decades or so that there's a lot of pain that seems to be experienced in families. I've noticed clients, I've noticed friends, I've noticed people randomly also who have chosen not to speak to their siblings, to their parents, to each other because of a certain pain that they felt because of the words and the deeds that were done towards them. Today, I'd like us to reflect a little bit on family and ask ourselves, what does family really mean? And what is the value of family to me? You know? And if you can think about it from that perspective, perhaps the question you could ask yourself is, how can I be a better friend in my family? Yeah. I know there are many firstborns. We'll be talking about firstborn syndrome. I'm a firstborn, so I get it. And firstborns usually have a lot on their shoulders. But I've also found there's a lastborn syndrome, those children who somehow they say get everything, but sometimes actually do not get a lot of attention because everyone else is so busy with life. So the last one, or the one who's youngest, somehow is just trying to play catch up. So there are all these birth order ideas. But today, whatever birth order you are, and even if it's the family you've created, I want you to ask yourself, how intentional are you about the things that you do with your family? You know, in the families where people are bare knuckles, yeah? They just go in and I think it's a good thing to be totally authentic. But I also think on the flip side, you can be so raw that you're hurting people through and through and through with callous comments, offhand comments, comments that you're like, yeah, we're at home. I can be who I am. Your family, you're kind of stuck with me for life. Maybe. But I think there's a place for human tone to rise, for the refinement of how we speak to each other. If you look at my brush, which I wore for this series, is to allow us to dance, to exhale all that pain and to inhale a lot more peace and joy and serenity. But I also think that when it comes to family, this is the very first school of virtues, yeah, in the home. And so whatever we've learned first in the family, by osmosis or by omission. You know, you see something, you're like, I never want to be like that. Or by osmosis, wow, we do that so much that it continues to happen even in the life and the family I've created. So perhaps it's time to examine, how do I relate with my family members? How do you relate with your family members? Each and every one of them. Do an examination of some kind and just assess, which are the relationships that need more attention, that need repair, that need honesty and courage? What are those spaces that we call no-go zones in our families? I mean, and these days I find there are so many no-go zones. No-go zone about money, no-go zone about conflict, no-go zone about legacy, no-go zone about, what are your no-go zones? And is it time to have the courage to have conversations in those no-go zones, even if you can allow yourself to go in with curiosity? I want to know what other people think. And then eventually we can see whether our values align and we can do something about that area. You know, I remember the other day I was talking to some leaders. It's a group of, many of them were male. And I asked the question, who has a will? And what was interesting is they were lawyers. And they're like looking down, uncomfortable, which is a very foreign thing to see with lawyers, because lawyers, by definition and training, are trained to be courageous, to debate, to always give an alternative view. And I was like, okay, this is an out-of-body experience I'm having. As lawyers, why don't you have a will? You should be actually offering those services to us. And they're like, it's taboo. In my culture, we don't talk about death. I have nothing to bequeath people. And I was like, whoa. Hmm? When you're going on leave, what do? You leave a long brief, detailed, of who should handle which case, who should do what. How about getting ready for the leave that we never know when it'll happen? Yeah. Because when we start to bring to the fore subjects that we thought are taboo, are contracultural, we start rising and breaking through some of the habits that would not help us become your next best self. You see, the idea of having conversations that are courageous and uncomfortable helps you only rise. It may be uncomfortable in the process, but if you go in with that space and mentality of I'm curious and let us explore rather than I have a hard stand and it's my way or the highway, which unfortunately many people do. Then when you go in with that curiosity, you start to create what I would like to call psychological safety in the family, because you're open to different perspectives. You're open to another different way of thinking. You're open to different solutions. Because who says because we're from the same family, we must see things the same way? In fact, when we see them differently, it enriches our experience of each other. So family, the first relationship I want you to be mindful of, because hopefully when all is said and done, depending on how we've taken care of each other in the family, we'll stand with each other no matter what the storms of life bring to us. And I want to encourage you that as a family, first school of life, first school of love. We experience love or the lack of it thereof first in the family. And I know it determines the kind of relationships you have in the future. I'm reminded of someone who told us one time that she did not receive any love from her father in the family. He ignored her. He worked very hard. He had no time for her. He was never available emotionally, physically seemed available, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually unavailable. But his argument was, I am providing for you, and when I get home, I'm very tired. Don't disturb me. Because of that emotional unavailability, and because she didn't know better, unlike now where we have therapy, we have programs we can do to help you unearth some of these inner child wounds, she went ahead and every time she dated someone, it was an older man. And it's only by the time that she finally got to a space where she did a program to see her patterns, she realized, I am constantly still looking for my dad's love, affirmation, attention, and approval. And unfortunately, it wasn't coming from those relationships. So she had to backtrack and figure out what went wrong. What did she miss? Her story is beautiful because she went and spoke to her dad and said, Dad, I know you did a lot for me. You paid for campus. I went on Ivy League. I did all these things. But I missed who you are, which was the most important. And the dad broke down because I think he'd been feeling they are so distant and he couldn't understand. And my heart goes out to men because unlike women, we talk a lot. We'll talk to our friend, we'll get this out of our chest. But I just want to encourage men. Maybe it's time to learn also from the women. Find a confidant, find someone who you can speak to about the struggles you're facing. It doesn't mean you're less of a man. So she spoke to him and she told him, Dad, all I needed was your attention. Thank you for providing for us. Our lives were comfortable. But what I have seen is I am now going to 40. I'm unable to settle down in a marriage because I am just looking for the love I missed, the love that you didn't give me, knowingly or unknowingly. So how about we start again? So they started to remend their father-daughter relationship. And what was so fascinating is because she's Christian, she took forgiveness seriously and she forgave him. And it's so funny when we let go of the bile and the pain that sometimes comes from the family perspective. That creativity and energy just makes our lives radiant. And so I'm happy to report that now she's been married a number of years happily. I mean, they have a number of children with her husband. She started dating someone who was more values-based rather than looking for something she didn't have. And they have children who the grandfather, her father, loves to bits. How about you? Are there some grudges, some pains, some wounds that you're experiencing with respect to your family, the family you've created or the family of origin? Do you think this year, this season, today, after listening to me, you might just take the next baby step, tiny step, to do the analysis and figure out who this year do I need to reconnect with? Who this year do I need to untie, not cut off? Who this year do I need to raise a boundary for because they are who they are and this relationship is a codependency? So I need to reevaluate and change. Who this year do I need to love more? Who do I need to pay attention to? Even more than I pay attention to my phone. On a final note, some children were talking to their parents. Family meetings is something I encourage you to do, something we're trying to do also as a family. And so they're having this family meeting and the children are the ones who chair and treasurer and secretary. So that the parents actually come in, giving the children the opportunity to lead. And so they were doing a bit of a SWOT analysis. One parent had been in one of our programs, Rise Masterclass and our Breakthrough Mastery Circle. And they were having a conversation around, give me some feedback, gift of feedback. And the children said, are you sure mommy and daddy are going to receive it? And they were like, whoa, what are they going to tell us that we have no idea about? And they're asking for permission and telling us so delicately. So the parents said, it's okay. We will not victimize, will not punish you. Just tell us this is a safe zone because as a family, we want to grow and get closer to each other. And then the youngest child said, mommy and daddy, I wish I was your phone. The parents looked at each other. You wish you were our phone? What do you mean? I wish I was your phone. The way you hold your phone, the way you look at your phone, the way you smile and laugh at your phone, the way you're constantly trying to figure out what to do with your phone. I wish I was your phone. I wish I was your phone. Maybe that's the call to action with the respect to our families. That if we pay so much attention to the phone, maybe we need to split that attention. Put aside that phone when we get home and say this next 2 hours, uninterrupted, eyeball to eyeball, real interest, focus, get to their level, tune in, whether it's children, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your siblings, whether it is your parents, whoever it is. And as I say this, it's also a space for me to continue growing. So I'm not necessarily the expert who's got this all covered, no. But I want to encourage you, make family a priority and you'll never regret it. Thank you so much. I can't wait to hear your feedback. Tell me what you've tried. Tell me what works for you. Looking forward to your response, feedback, and sharing of this video. Make family a priority. Thank you.